All right, we are live. I'm so excited to be here today with somebody I hugely admire. We were just talking backstage with Avery, our head of programming, and I think, first set of employee holiday gifts were OSEA. So I'm a huge fan. Jenna Jackson is also an investor in OSEA, and she has always raved about you specifically, Jenefer. And so I am very excited to have this discussion, but I'm going to do just a quick overview for everyone, a friendly reminder. We are having a discussion with a scion of beauty, and that's Jenefer, but we are also doing our beauty cohort right now for the 10th house. The 10th house is our private membership community. We do cohorts every couple months that have a different industry. This industry is specifically beauty, and you can be in personal care as well. So or even wellness. And so you might be touching beauty through ingestion, but you are certainly welcome as long as you sort of identify with that industry. We are going to be having conversations with experts like Jenefer, in addition to doing community events on a monthly basis, both in person as well as virtually. And so definitely join us. The applications are open for a limited time. I believe that we are going to be closing out in a few days here. So if you were interested and haven't pulled the trigger yet, please do so. But without further ado, I'm going to jump into Jenefer because she has a really interesting background leading her to this moment. She is the founder of beloved brand OSEA, a pioneering clean beauty brand established in 1996. So before beauty being clean was a thing, you had long seen the need for it. With over 35 years of experience in the spa industry and in the formulation and development of natural beauty products, Jenefer has been at the forefront of integrating seaweed-based ingredients into skincare. Her journey into the field was inspired by her grandmother, Elsa Reuschle, whose belief in the healing power of the ocean greatly influenced Palmer's approach to skincare. She began her career in diverse fields, including archaeology, very cool, and various healing arts, before she became the spa director at Murrieta Hot Springs. Frustrated by the lack of effective natural skincare products, she began creating her own formulations, combining essential oils and seaweed to develop what would become OSEA's signature products. Under her leadership, OSEA has remained committed to sustainability, using glass containers and focusing on vegan and cruelty-free ingredients from the outset. So again, so far ahead of the field in terms of seeing this not only opportunity, but need, and also the fact that you have been making it efficacious from the beginning. Can you talk a little bit about launching OSEA, what inspired you, and then what were some of the biggest challenges you faced? Again, this was entirely sort of new at the time that you launched it, before people were talking about it.
Well, what really inspired OSEA was when I saw the need. I was a spa director at Murrieta Hot Springs in the early 80s, and I knew nothing about skincare. Actually, I washed my face with water. I still don't wear makeup to this day, just lipstick. So I didn't know anything at all about beauty, and but I recognized, oh, we have this spa, we have this resort, we should probably do facials. That sounds like a good idea, and so I kind of put the word out that I wanted to do facials, and I actually learned about skincare by listening to different sales reps come through my office and pitch me, including even the founder of La Mer, this
Wow.
this eccentric guy named Max. He was such a character. He was really a delight. And he handed me this tiny little jar of cream. And imagine in 1982, he said, well, it costs $150, which was like $1,000 in today's dollars. And I just thought, oh, wow, I was afraid to use it because I thought, how am I ever going to keep buying it or using it? So I kept getting all these sales pitches and not knowing anything but coming from a science background. I did kind of what I learned how to do with my mother and my grandmother. I read the ingredients. And when I started reading the ingredients, I saw that they were all synthetic derived. and I really didn't even know what they were. So I had to order books from the FDA through my local library because, yes, there was a time before the internet. And let me tell you, everything took more energy to get information. I mean, I love living in the information age, but
Yeah.
we weren't there in the early 80s. And I started to see a pattern that some of the most common, typical skincare ingredients were irritating to the skin, like right off the top, and causing irritation, redness, ulceration. And then I was also concerned about more the long-term effects because our skin is highly porous. Up to 70% of what we apply on our skin does go into our bodies. And this wasn't even being talked about in the early 80s,
Just
but
thinking of everything that's on my face right now. And
you might want to think about
yeah,
that.
no, it's true. I'm in the process of cleaning out my makeup bag.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the typical woman uses about 12 personal care products a day. And then if you start looking at the ingredient list of everything in there, suddenly you realize you're kind of a chemical soup. So, all these little things matter. And I always like to say, OSEA chose me. It just really struck me. Wow, there's got to be a better way to go about this. And that's how it started. I mean, I would say it's 100% correct that if my high school class were to vote the least likely person to have started a skincare company, I might be the first on the list. I mean, I was just at lunchtime, I was playing chess with the chemistry teacher and the chemistry nerds. I mean, my idea of a great vacation still is not even combing my hair for a few days until it gets so knotted. I've got to get the knots out. So, I mean, no nail polish. I'm just always been very natural, and that was partly inspired by my grandmother, she graduated from chiropractic school over 100 years ago.
Wow.
So I grew up with my mother ordering special non-hydrogenated peanut butter. And imagine this, because I'm turning 70 in December. Imagine going to kindergarten in 1958 with a baked sweet potato, German brown bread, and non-hydrogenated peanut butter for your lunch.
Though, I'm interested, like when you first started it, did you start with one product and one formulation, or what was like, how did this become a business? Right?
When I first started, I was still working at Murrieta Hot Springs, and I created essential hydrating oil. And because it was a blend of essential oils with a very high amount of essential oils in the base. And that was an easy thing to do because there was no water. You didn't have to deal with stability or, contamination. And then when the spa and Murrieta Hot Springs sold, that's when I realized I needed to do this as a full-on, career. So it took me about 10 years to kind of learn basic principles of green chemistry, which was a new emerging field. And it took me 3 years to come up with the name OSEA, which means ocean, sun, earth, atmosphere. I like to say that, that old fable, the tortoise and the hare.
Yeah.
We know who won the race. It was the tortoise. So I am the tortoise, and here I am now all these years later, and I'm finally in style. So I originally launched with 6 products, 2 cleansers, 2 essential oil blends, and a seawater mist product and a moisturizer. And of the 6 products that we launched with, all 6 of them are still in our collection.
Wow. I was
Yeah.
going to say, I recognize all of those because
Yeah. Ocean cleanser, ocean cleansing mud, essential hydrating oil, essential corrective complex, and atmosphere protection cream.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You launched with those,
Mhm.
and now you have a partnership with your daughter, right?
Yes.
Can you
Yeah.
speak to that and how she became integrated into the business? Because obviously she was probably a child when this
Yeah,
started.
she was a teenager, and but she was always interested in business. We're very different. I'm more on the creative side. She's
Yeah.
very much more on the numbers, business side. Um, I have to ponder a decision often, or work with my intuition. And she has this ability to just make great decisions based on her intuition and based on the rational side of her brain. So we really complement each other. And when she actually set up the first QuickBooks that we had, and she took a little time off from college to help me. And then I basically had to fire her so she'd go back and get her degree, which she did. And then she came back, worked with me for a while. And then, I mean, come on, she was a young woman who wants to work in your mother's garage and a fledgling.
And at this point, you're still in your garage. So, like,
Yes, I'm
how does
all about garage
it
life.
look right?
I mean, that was also one of the things I believed really strongly, and I would recommend this to any entrepreneur, is to try to keep your fixed monthly costs at a bare minimum.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I was the original work at home person because, I needed to be. I was, at,
Covering the overhead of an office. But
yeah,
so at what point is this, right? So 1996, you started OSEA?
1996 I launched. And then Melissa, it's hard to remember some of the dates. She came back into the business in the early 2000s. And then she left and was CEO of a hula hooping company and launching hula hooping as fitness. And I mean, she was, on the Today Show hula hooping kind of thing. So
Wow.
I know, who knew? And she always likes to say that's how she went to business school, by doing this other company. And then and she'd always helped and supported. And then she really kind of came back full force about 10 years ago. And she is the one that's really escalated and grown the business. And so it's been a really wonderful partnership.
And when she came on, a couple questions for you. When she came on, did you all have a very deliberate conversation around, okay, this is the role she's going to play in the business. Now I'm going to shift some of my responsibilities to be purely this. And what did your team look like before she came in?
Oh, our team was my husband helping in the garage and someone answering the phone, pretty much, and a couple trainers that visited spas. She really built the team. And I think, for us, it's always just been organic and kind of just discovering where our strengths are. And so there wasn't really like, okay, we're sitting down, we're mapping all this out, we're doing a flow chart. It was never like that.
Got it. Wow. That's amazing, though, that you were able to, in a family business,
Mm-hmm.
not like, how did you, and this is just now coming off the top of my head, but how did you avoid conflict? Like, how do you ongoingly avoid conflict? And I'm sure a lot of people can resonate with family.
Right. Well, for me, I never could have trusted anyone else to do the things that she did.
Yeah.
Even though I questioned them and I was uncertain at times, I always knew that she loved me, I loved her, and we were trying to build something together.
Yeah.
So I was there was just that relief of like, hey, someone's not going to try to backstab me or do a hostile takeover. And so I think that was really, really key. Was it was founded on a basis of love and mutual respect. And
Yeah.
also too, the more we worked together, the more we kind of realized the CEO and the creative sometimes, very coming from two different places. And when we could just see, oh, that's based on the roles that we're playing,
Yeah.
then it kind of neutralized it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
And the other thing too is, for me, being a mother, I was a single mom for many years, and being a mother was a personal apex in my life and very, very important to me. And to have the privilege of seeing my daughter in the world is so profound because usually, your kids, because, I'm turning 70, I have grandkids. Usually you see your kids, they come over to your house for a holiday, they revert back to some childish behaviors, right?
Right.
I mean, you get around mom and dad, and all of a sudden, it all comes flowing back. But to see her, to witness her in the world as an adult, just such a beautiful thing. It's just,
Oh, sounds
there's not even
magical.
words to describe it.
It sounds really magical.
It is.
And can you talk a little bit? I mean, it seems like she did a lot of this work, but I'm interested on your perspective from going from a garage. Like, do you
Yes.
have an office now? And if so, like maybe you work from home still, which is what I would continue to do if it had worked.
Yeah. I mean, I'm on a couch in my bedroom right now.
Yeah.
Um, we do, we have an office in Venice on Abbot Kinney behind our skincare studio where sometimes teams will meet up. But we've always basically been a remote business. And I'm just too much of
It can work.
yeah. I mean, I've always worked at home, and partly I was a single mom. I couldn't just leave at 8 in the morning and come back at 5 at night. I had to run out and pick a kid up from school or do something or throw the laundry in. I mean, I had to work it all into my daily existence.
That is so beautiful. We just had a post that Rebecca did. She spoke at an Inc. event, and she's
Hmm.
talking about that work-life
Yeah.
integration.
Hmm.
And you were doing it just naturally, but I think that it's so important to acknowledge that and also to see you found success doing that.
Totally.
So
Totally.
why change that? And you can be a remote company. Can you talk a little bit about how you guys, like some of the practices maybe that you have in order to have a remote team that is successful?
Well, of course, we have a Slack channel,
Yeah.
which reduces emails, and we have weekly team meetings. And something that I love is because we have a team of 80 people now. So people, on different teams, when it's someone's birthday, like right now, I'm missing a baby shower on Zoom for one of our team members in marketing. So we really build on a lot of appreciation and acknowledgement because my mantra in life is to be kind.
Hmm.
I probably just revealed most of my passwords to the world right now, but it's just, life beats us up, and what we have is the choice to be kind to one another and to be kind to the planet, to be kind to others, to be kind to our skin. And I really think that kindness is a key element of beauty.
Yeah.
And so, we have this culture of kindness in our company. And I think that really helps everything flow, or kindness makes the world go round.
I could not agree more. In fact, that's
Mhm.
always the number one thing we tell our kids is above all else, you have to be kind.
Yeah,
And
and it's not always easy.
no, it's not. It's
No,
certainly not
I
easy.
mean, if it was easy, everybody would be kind, but it's something, and I mean, occasionally, of course, I don't feel like being kind when I'm, standing in Whole Foods and the checker's ignoring me and I'm in a rush, and I just take a deep breath and think, I can choose to be kind. And, you know, that is the ethos of OSEA, is kindness.
You feel that with your products. You really, really feel that. And so true that Emma just commented that she wishes more founders and businesses would focus on being kind.
Mhm.
And it's true that because you're kind and the sort of the natural and also deliberate way of infusing that into your company culture ultimately translates to the consumer, right? Because
That's
when
what's,
you're selling
yeah.
products out to, you're going to be picked up by businesses that resonate with that,
Hmm.
or retailers that resonate with that, and then you can feel it as a consumer when you have your products. Like I said, the emotion that you get when using OSEA is one of being nourished too.
And that's what's so profound, because before I did OSEA, because I really dove in full force at age 42, I had a private practice doing cranial therapeutic touch, where I worked with um, kids with reading problems or head trauma people, and so much of cranial touch is about working with intention, and then the system starts to unwind and release. And when I formulate and create a product, especially the scent, it's always has this intention of uplifting and energy rising up,
Mhm.
and of love and kindness. And I kind of just did that for myself, because that's how I was always accustomed to working in my previous career. And everyone says it. It's amazing. You really can put it in a bottle. And
Yeah,
who knew?
yeah,
It's mind blowing to me, really. But the power of intention,
yeah,
there's definitely something there.
I agree. And looking back, were there things that were really hard for you, or that what are some of the biggest challenges that stand out, and how did you get through those?
Well, first of all, when I first started, I'll never forget, I went to this, and this was a very prestigious account that I had landed, which I lasted in there. When I say I think of OSEA, because it was pretty much just me at that point. I got into this very iconic, uh, old school drugstore in New York City that sold Chanel and all the luxury products. And I went in there with my 6 products and glass bottles, and I'm trying to train the staff in there. And they all looked at me and they said, why isn't it in plastic? Can you make it pink? And we want it to smell like perfume.
Oh,
And I just thought, oh, wow, this is never going to work. And I think that was really, people really didn't even resonate with what I was talking about, that ingredients matter. Um, and that we were one of the very first companies, if not the first, to put more money into the actual ingredients than the packaging. And people didn't like the glass, and I wanted to use natural essential oils versus synthetic fragrance, because one of the problems with synthetic fragrance are all the carriers that go along with it. That's why a lot of people get headaches from synthetic fragrance, myself included. Yeah, I know. Like, I mean, so it was just really hard. People didn't appreciate the fact that we were vegan from the very beginning. They didn't appreciate the fact that we were trying to do a concentrated product to minimize waste and garbage. So there was a lot of challenges, and people had a lot of misconceptions about seaweed too. A
How
lot.
did how did you break through? Because I think for many founders that are on this, or in beauty in particular, you're doing something differently. And so that oftentimes requires education, or sort of bucking the usual way of doing things.
Well, I think the first key to it is I I knew I was correct. Like,
Right.
there was never a doubt. I knew I was 100% correct in what I believed. So you have to have this unwavering belief that what you're doing and what you're promoting is the right thing. I mean, so I would get run up and against walls all the time, and it would be discouraging. And sometimes I'd have little post-it notes where I would just say, you know, I am this, or I'd have to remind myself. But I always knew, like, I knew from the moment I started that OSEA was destined to be a global brand.
Wow.
I just knew it. There was never a doubt in my mind. And most people did not know that for a good 15 years, I mean, and even one of my best friends, because I spent 10 years putting all the pieces together. And my best friend, is an engineer and an investor and in Mensa Society. She's this brilliant woman. And we both had kids and we were both single moms. And she just thought I was daydreaming, telling her all about it. When I finally said 10 years later, hey, here's my first 6 products, she thought, I never thought you'd actually do it. So you just have to have this drive to do it. And I mean, I've been saying the same thing for 28 years.
And how many, I'm sure there are countless founders that are sitting here listening to this where it's such a relief to hear that, because I think all of us probably at some point in time feels like maybe you're a little bit crazy, but you can't help yourself from charging forward.
Well, look, we're all crazy. Come on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We're all crazy. And if you're a founder, well, you're just a special flavor of crazy.
Yeah.
But it's just, I mean, I would certainly say to any founder that, first of all, it's going to be harder than you think. And that's okay, because if you really thought it through and realized how hard it was going to be, you may not do it. So I would say to a founder, when all of a sudden you realize, oh my God, this is really hard. Well, that's almost like nature protecting you. So you've already dove in. And, by the time I spent all my money, I literally painted myself into a corner without any escape. So I had to make it work.
Yeah. I think probably a lot of us have done the thing where you're like, well, I'm here. I'm fully pregnant with this.
Yeah, there's no place else to go. So, how am I going to make this work? And, sometimes that's when some of the most creative ideas come.
And is there anything you would have done differently looking back, like hindsight being 2020?
No, because it all brought me here today. Because I always knew I was going to end up here today. And I mean, maybe I would have. No, I mean, you just have to know. You just have to push forward and know. And I mean, I can't think of anything I would have done differently.
And
trust me, I made mistakes. It's not like I did it perfectly. But, when you make a mistake, you learn, and you got to make mistakes in order to learn and keep moving forward.
You're going to make a lot of mistakes, right?
Of course, yeah.
In 2021, you eventually did take in external investment from Kavu.
Yes.
Can you speak to why, and then also why you took in outside investment eventually, and then why Kavu?
Well, first of all, if you might recall, that was kind of a crazy moment in time with COVID.
Yeah.
And we did not need the money, because one thing is we've always been either profitable, sometimes just barely profitable, but we'd always been profitable. But at that moment in time, the world was a crazy place. And I knew that we'd come so far, that we had built this beautiful entity, that I wanted to make sure that it could continue and last and endure. And, honestly, Kavu really understood us. I love that they were in the wellness space, because our company is based on wellness, not beauty.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, to me, a partner in beauty would have not really been the fit. I mean, Kavu's invested in so many wellness kind of products, and they recognize the importance and value of great ingredients. And I really just liked a lot of the team members of Kavu, including Jenna. She's extraordinary.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
There's a lot of love for her.
Yeah.
Her dedication and passion. You guys have had 40% of your direct consumer customers are repeat buyers.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think drives loyalty for you guys? Because that's a really impressive stat, and I think one that a lot of founders out there will endeavor.
It's the product. I mean, it's really the product. If you give a consumer a high quality product made with intention and kindness and love, they will feel it. I mean, there's so many different levels of consciousness that we really, at least I don't understand, but we're these feeling creatures in life. And if you give a consumer a product that they enjoy using, they see a difference on their skin, they'll be back. And it's so funny. This is just a side note. So I've always promoted having glowing skin. Well, when we first launched, glow was actually a bad word. It was everything had to be matte finish. And I said, no, look, I've got
90s,
wrinkles.
it's all about Matt.
It was all about Matt. And even and then I kept saying, no, you want to have glowy skin because look, we've all got wrinkles, but if your skin glows, who cares about the wrinkles? It doesn't matter. And so consumers use the product and they see an immediate difference on their skin. And then it's like a circle of wow, I put this on, it smells good, it feels nice to apply. I look in the mirror, I feel elevated. A lot of time it's from the blend of essential oils because again, when I formulate scent, it's always about the rising of energy. And that's why they come back. Sometimes they'll try another product or sometimes they won't even try it. And I think also consumers believe in our mission, of minimal waste, high quality natural derived ingredients, that we're vegan. And it's not like our consumer base is strictly vegan, but this is a way that you can make great skincare products without using items from the animal kingdom. So why?
You have a lot of brand ambassadors that have picked up on, and social media influencers. Is that intentional? Is it something where because you have such a sticky product that people love so much the ritual of putting on and using and repeating and replenishing? Has it been more organic for you, or how have you been?
It really started out very organically because that was something that I have to give a lot of credit to my daughter for. She started really focusing on micro influencers because they have such strong levels of engagement. And we didn't have money to pay influencers in the beginning. And that was really the turning point for OSEA. We could never compete with the full page ads in magazines. First of all, we didn't have those kind of margins and we weren't the size or the volume. But then along came social media, which really equalized the playing field. And it just became very organic. Also, I lived in Malibu for almost 28 years. And so, I'm on the soccer field. I probably shouldn't say this, but I remember being on the soccer field and there was, at the time, Mel Gibson was, like Mr. Famous Guy. And I'm looking at him in like short little leggings and Ugg boots thinking, this guy does not look like a movie star. He looks like a fashion disaster, but I probably shouldn't have said that. But, my children grew up around celebrities and they would find the product. They knew it was a Malibu based brand. And then that extended into LA. And so we got a lot of organic support from celebrities which was great. I mean, we've never had a paid celebrity endorsement and probably one of the biggest, like even some really varied situations. For example, years ago when the Osbournes were on television, Ozzy came out in Entertainment Weekly and said that he loves the ocean cleansing mud because it's an industrial strength cleanser for oily, acneic skin. So pause. Who likes Ozzy Osbourne? A lot of teenage boys with acne. And that just blew open the
That
teenage
is so
market.
funny.
And we still have men, 25 years later, that are still buying from us from Ozzy Osbourne. I mean, he
That
sold
is
so
so
many
funny.
products, not your traditional beauty icon, you know.
Definitely not who I thought you were going to say was like, just super influential for your sales.
But, but I mean, it just comes from the craziest places. And then we have a product called Indaria Algae Body Oil, which women's wear just put it in the top 20 iconic products of all time. And it was such an honor. But that product came out like years ago, but no one really knew about it. And then one day, I think it was 2018, Victoria Beckham posted about it. Boom! I mean, to her millions of followers. And suddenly it became an overnight success.
Do you have a PR firm that's gifting or seeding stuff?
Now we've done that in the more recent years, but in the beginning it was all strictly organic
Wow.
because I think that's a
You
good
didn't
way to.
even know that they were necessarily using it.
No, no, we didn't send that to Victoria Beckham. She found it at a resort.
Wow.
And I certainly never would have dreamed of sending Ozzy Osbourne products. It was not on my list,
Target.
So, and we sold at this delightful little store in Malibu called Planet Blue that's no longer there. And our first retail account was Fred Siegel. So
Wow.
those were both very celebrity driven shopping areas, and they would come in.
It also shows how important your retail footprint is, not
Yes.
necessarily you as a brand, but when you're looking at what retailer should I go into, you don't necessarily have to go directly to the biggest ones. It's
No.
like you can be selective because that will hit the most influential consumers who
It's
ultimately will spread the message about your brand if you have a great product.
100%. You said it better than I could have. And I think that's the way to begin is you you want to avoid overextending yourself. So um, we initially started in destination luxury spas because we knew if someone went in and got a facial, I mean, the receptionist at the spa would say, "Oh, we always can tell when they had an OSEA facial, their skin glows." So
Oh,
we knew if people had a tactile experience of the product, that we would get their attention. But unfortunately, glass bottles, you don't really want to fly home with them, etc. So we did really well, like with spas like Ojai Valley Inn, because people just drive back to LA. And then we started going in, and then we went into specialty retail. And actually, my first account was before spa, it was Fred Siegel. And then we started going into, because we're a natural derived brand, we went into more of the clean beauty boutiques. We launched when Credo launched. So I think that focusing in detox market. So I think that focusing on small specialty retailers that make less demands of you and that will buy from you at a good margin rather than the larger ones, it reduces the margin. I think that's a really good way to begin. And we were approached by major retailers for many years, and that's something that Melissa kept saying no to until we were ready, which was key because you get one chance. And when you step into it, you want to be ready.
yeah. Yeah.
And
And
it's patience.
right. And but
Everybody on here, write down the word patience. Can I say something else about that? Because
yeah,
because
please.
I have this whole different approach to business, and it's so funny. Um, it's really funny because sometimes when I say it, you know how moms and daughters are. I feel, even though Melissa's not watching this, I swear she'd probably be going, "Oh, mom, you just said that." But I'm going to say it anyway. Is I believe in the yin approach to business. In other words, I see myself as the egg, and I just let all the little sperms swim to me because that is the nature
Hmm.
of reproduction and life rather than chasing. If you can,
Especially as female founders, that's a great metaphor too. We're
isn't it a great metaphor? Like we are the egg, and you just want to build your yin and just build that, and then
let people come to you.
let people come to you, and then you pick and choose, and then you say, I'm going to wait here, I'll circle back. And also too, it's very powerful to say no to a top retailer and say, we're not ready yet.
Yeah, it's really powerful. I
Yeah.
think the other thing, and I want to speak to this point because I think it's a really important one specifically for clean beauty. But I think the other thing with that, and part of the reason you were able to do that, is if you're profitable.
Yes.
Right? That puts you in such a position of power, from bringing on the right investors, taking the right accounts.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the driver's seat of your business, and you can truly be the egg if you
Yes.
are profitable, because you're not going to be forced to do something out of fear or necessity as
Right.
opposed to desire. So I think that's a really wonderful thing. I
Yeah.
do have a question, and I think you've answered it to some degree, talking about you waited a long time to go into certain
Retail.
retailers, but as a clean brand,
Mm-hmm.
how do you know, how have you been able to scale that sort of non-toxic vegan, that commitment to sustainability and to staying as clean as you are, amidst the pressures of scaling?
Well, it's funny because as you scale, costs do go down. Now,
Right.
natural derived ingredients don't go down that much. Obviously, synthetic derived ingredients go down a lot more, but you actually have more options as you scale and more resources. If anything, we've gotten better. Now we have the resources where each ingredient is double checked and tracked by a scientist that we have as a consultant. So we have even a stronger supply chain now that we've scaled. And certainly with packaging, you get better buying power, like with packaging, things like that, or even shipping rates. And ingredient costs, they go down, not hugely, but they do go down. And there was a question about what was it, something about how did I know when I was ready or how wasn't I ready? Well, for example, we knew that to go into Nordstrom's or go into Ulta to really win, we had to have our supply chain locked down, because all of a sudden you don't want to just say, hey, we're out of one product. It's one thing if you're out of one product, and you're just selling online. But if you have 1,000 stores out of that product and the major retailers looking at it, it's a bad look. So
we do have just one more question for you. And I feel like you've already given us, like, I love the fact that you told us, be the egg, patience, and waiting till you're ready, try to be profitable. All these are such helpful tips, but particularly for women that are entering or trying to grow in the beauty industry, female founders, what other last pieces of advice do you perhaps have for them?
I think that you have to, if you're going to be the egg, you have to listen to your intuition. And it's been really interesting because both Melissa and I are very deep into our intuition, even though from opposite sides of our brain.
Wow.
And something that I've learned is that I can have an intuitive feeling like this is the right decision or this is the wrong decision. And then I put a reason to it. And sometimes the reason is completely the wrong reason, but the decision is the right decision, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so, we have a whole collection called the Vagus Nerve Collection. And
I'm learning all about the vagus nerve right now for separate reasons. So,
yeah. So, but the thing about the vagus nerve is that You know that old expression, I had a gut feeling? Well, the vagus nerve is the regulator of the parasympathetic nervous system. It's the longest nerve in the body. But 70% of the impulses start in the gut and go to the brain. So when you have that gut feeling, that's your vagus nerve talking to you. And we have so much more to discover about the vagus nerve. But gut feelings aren't in your mind. It's a vagal response. So listen to your gut feelings. Remember that patience and perseverance furthers, and be kind and believe in yourself.
One last question for you, because I love that you brought up the vagal nerve and gut feeling.
Mm-hmm.
For those that maybe have a harder time
Mm-hmm.
accessing that gut feeling, are there any resources coming from a healing background that you recommend?
Meditation.
Yeah.
And you know, the thing about meditation is I've been doing it every day for almost 50 years now, and I have a really simple technique. I do it right before I go to sleep, and I do it when I wake up, because I know as long as I'm alive, I'm going to go to sleep and I'm going to wake up. And if you only even want to meditate for 2 minutes, that's okay. You're putting yourself into that space. And I just do a very basic follow my breath meditation.
Yeah.
And it allows you to go within, and if you don't take the time to get to know what's inside of yourself, well, who else is going to? And it's fun to get to know inside of yourself.
Oh, so beautiful. I feel like this was such a healing conversation. We are so grateful for you, Jenefer, and for your wisdom and for the beautiful brand full of kindness that you've built. Because I think you've shown us all today that you can build things based off of love and kindness and intention, and that it will be out there into the world as you have deliberately put it. So thank you for doing what you do, and for sharing it with all of us. We're super grateful. And thanks
Oh,
to everyone for listening generously, too.
yeah. Thank you all. And just remember the power of the feminine energy.
Love it.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And thank you for all the wonderful questions. And I know you put a lot of time and thought in them, and I really appreciate you. Thank you.
We appreciate you. Thank you all for joining. Really appreciate you as well. Bye.